Good morning. Welcome to our class. Hope you're having a good day. We've been talking about life hacks and spiritual life hacks, and we've been running through different ones in this series that we are in right now. And last week we talked about when you're not sure what to say. That was kind of the topic, and so we got into that a fair amount last week, but we are going to continue that topic this week and also address a few other things that are important. And really, what this topic is about is just how we, oftentimes we will say things we should not have said. So we should have, zipped our lip on that. And other times we will not say something and we really should have somehow, some way said something. So, and we want to let's bring in social media to this as well, because more and more this is a huge part of our lives. It is how we connect and how we communicate, and just like anything else, it kind of, I don't know, when social media started out, it was kind of novel and it seems good and fun, and like everything on earth, Satan will come in and make a mess of it, and he's always tempting us. But regarding social media, so this one's going to be how oftentimes we post things on social media and we really, as Christians, should have not. We should have not posted at all, or at the very least, said that a whole lot different. So, there are different circumstances, kind of different types of this. You've seen the one where I'm going to post this because it needs to be said, and sometimes that just sounds like the devil. He's telling us, you're angry and you'd like to put that out there. After all, what you're saying needs to be said. Somebody needs to say it. So
Yeah.
I'll be the one. And and it's really and offensive. It's not a loving. It's not even with a lot of maturity. It's just kind of blah, kind of without a filter. So that can be a problem. Have you seen the one where I'm just saying, like, post a rant, and then I'm not trying to cause any problems. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So what does that mean when I say I'm just saying?
I'm just saying. I think it's just it's almost
my
like
way of saying don't be hurt by what I just said. I'm just saying. I'm just
gonna put it out there, but I think it's kind of like with all due respect.
Oh yeah.
Like there's a lot of people like that.
I said
a right
respect.
Yeah, a right situation where you could use that. With all due respect is a way you're talking to somebody that holds an authoritative position over you or whatever, and you just say something that might be contrary to their opinion or whatever. But anymore, like people think that's with all due respect, you're a knucklehead. That
Right.
doesn't exactly fit. It's kind of like what we've used all the time. Jokes about when you're in the restaurant business and then, you get the biggest meal they got and extra sides and a couple of desserts and a cookie and whatever else, and you get a large Diet Coke, and that just cancels the whole thing out. That's the same mentality. Say whatever you want, speak in an unloving way, blast somebody on social media, or if they read it and realize it's about them, and then I'm just saying. That just like it makes everybody feel better.
It is weird. We and I understand the impulse to put that on there because it feels like you're like you're taking care of any hurt that this might have caused or any rudeness that might have been in this. I can be rude, and if I say I'm just saying, then I've fixed all the rudeness. It doesn't work that way though. Or how about the one that I'm not trying to offend anyone, and then you go on and offend everyone, or just say something really, that's kind of a front end way of I'm just saying, put it on the front. I'm not trying to offend anyone, and then you go on and be very, very offensive.
That almost seems like a cocky way to do it too. Like if you look at it from a different viewpoint,
I'll put this one
like,
up front.
I'm not even trying at this point. Like, I'm not trying to offend anybody. It just happens. Like, that's almost
But
worse.
I know I'm about to.
But I know I'm about to, but I'm not even trying. Like, it just comes out this way. It's almost what it sounds like, which is a little bit probably more accurate, except for the part about not trying to offend anyone, because you don't offend anybody directly. You want them to read whatever you posted at some other point in time, and it's like one of them, like a landmine or something. They step on it later on, and they don't, they're not going to see it right off the bat. That way you kind of, absolve yourself of any responsibilities. Well, I didn't put any names out there.
Right.
So, the fact that you just took offense to it, that's your own fault.
And you know what's so unfortunate is social media has provided everyone a way to say things that before social media we never said, because you didn't have a way to do that. And I say anonymously, not really anonymously. You didn't have a safe way to do that. If we were to say some of these rude and unchristlike things before, you had to say it to someone's face,
right,
or on the phone. And now you have a way to almost duck and hide and put it out there like a landmine, or put it out there from the safety of your own place. And anyway, it's not in that respect. Satan is capitalizing on that for sure.
Just while we're on that one point, I'd like to make another point too regarding social media that I think gets overlooked sometimes. It's not necessarily a point of offense or something that you might say, but I would advise us all to be real cautious about the pictures, or like just a great funny quote or an interesting tidbit of fact, anything that's shared, because you may be just focusing on the fact, the funny saying, whatever else. Seems like it doesn't hurt, but sometimes the names of these pages that supply it may have foul language in it. Maybe at the bottom, maybe somewhere in small print it has foul language, and so that still can come across as condoning, that type of talk or behavior or whatever. So we got to be really careful. And then along those same lines would be some of these worldly proverbs that say, well, if somebody isn't going to give you the time of the day, you just cut that person off, write them off. It just sounds like good worldly. You do for me, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And however right that sounds by the world standards, that's not exactly the message that Christ is giving us, and the example that he gives us. So we need to be careful with those things that we share in many different ways.
Yeah. And another kind of type of social post is this passive aggressive, where it kind of starts out some people, and then you go on a rant. And so on the surface it seems like, well, you're talking in general. You're not being rude. You're not calling anyone's name. You're not blasting anyone in particular. And however, the irony is, oftentimes the person you're thinking about knows you're thinking about them, because they just had some squabble with you yesterday, and today you posted some people. So a lot of times we think we're able to do something. We think we're doing it in a good way because, look, I didn't say who I was talking about, right? I made it general, and I said, some people really offend me when they talk about how much I eat and that I ordered a water and think that makes up for it. And that's just rude when people say that, because I do that, and I think it does make up for all the unhealthy stuff I just ate. As some people do. I'm not naming any names. Okay, but that was you. You said that just.
I did say it. I said a Diet Coke.
So I know,
water,
but I do water.
Okay.
I order water. Same thing. So, bottom line, kind of everything we're talking about is, for the most part, it's passive aggressive, because it's not looking someone in the eye and face to face in a Christ-like way addressing some issue. We're doing it in a passive way, kind of roundabout way. So social media provides a platform for that, but it is not helping us in a lot of ways. when you get, so here's a big one. When you get angry, when you get mad about something and you go to social media to vent, not a good idea. Not a good thing.
You mean we don't have our most ingenious ideas and most positive feedback and insightful thoughts and comments whenever we're angry?
It's not the best version of us, to use some of this modern vernacular. It's not us. I mean, it might be you being you, but it's not good.
It's not the good you.
It's not the good you. I mean, Christ died for us. He's trying to change you. He's trying to change me. We don't need to be us a lot of times. And so, and I also want, as a disclaimer, I want to say I've not been on social media a lot the last few days. I have not read where anyone has said any of the things we're addressing today. I'm not if you
it's
think,
also not good to do
yes,
passive aggressive thoughts in a class.
That's right.
Talking about people that do passive aggressive things on social media. That's not what
Exactly.
we're talking about
That's
here.
not
It's a
what
good
we're
example, but there's no, like, we didn't get together before this class started and think, you know, we could really hammer a couple people as long as we just say some people out there.
Some people. So I want you to know I'm not thinking of anyone. I've not noticed any of these things recently. I have noticed them numerous times in the past, but there's no one I'm really thinking of. But when we vent on social media, one problem with that is it's not a good look for a Christian, because as Christians we're supposed to be different. And when the world gets angry, they vent. When the world gets angry, they complain. When the world gets angry, they retaliate. Sometimes aggressively, sometimes passive aggressively, but it's still retaliation. That's how the world handles things. And so I wanted to turn to Colossians chapter 4, verses 5 and 6. Gives us, a really good guideline for how are we to act regarding the world. Because the thing about social media, the world's watching. They know who claims to be a Christian. They know who talks about church periodically or who talks about God. And they watch. And so Colossians 4, 5 and 6 says, walk in wisdom toward outsiders, making the best use of the time. Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer each person. The context there, the overall idea is we are saved trying to reach the lost. That's what's going on. And then when we live like the world lives and act like the world acts, how are we reaching the lost? How are we showing them a better way? In fact, I think one of Satan's greatest lies or messages to a lost person is when the lost looks at Christians acting like the world, a lost person says, why do I want to go to church? Why do I want to be a Christian? I'm doing as good as they are. What's the point? And that's a message from Satan. So every time we vent on social media and we gripe about something, we're showing the world that we don't know how to handle life any differently than they do. I mean, that's what the world does. The world either vents and complains and says, I'm just upset. The world will get on social media and say, I just need a drink. Some people, right? All these, I mean, we read that all the time. And so as Christians, so the answer is, if you're asking, well, Elliot, what do I do then with all my frustration? If you're telling me I can't vent, what do I do? And the answer is you can vent, but the one you need to vent to is Jesus Christ. Pray to God. Pray to Christ. Pray to someone who understands, who's going to help you work through it and get a better mindset. And so talk to Jesus about people acting rudely. Talk to Jesus about people treating you wrong. Talk to Jesus about life not being fair. I mean, you look at the life of Christ and it's humbling. So how Jesus lived, that, sometimes we'll complain about this or that, or why, I don't get to enjoy this or that or the other. Well, Jesus, he took no wife, he had no children, He did not have a family of his own. He had no place to lay his head. He was mistreated, abused, accused of all kinds of things he was not guilty of, and eventually crucified. So perfectly innocent. But anyway, venting to God is a great strategy, because it does give you a place to go with that, and it is effective. And a reminder, when we go to God with our problems, we're going to the Almighty, so that's someone who can do something about it. We're going through Jesus Christ, that's someone who fully understands. And we are also reaching out to the Spirit that God has put within the Christian to help them, comfort them, guide them. I mean, ultimately that's what we need. The world goes to, alcohol or drugs or, retaliation or complaining or whatever. Those things are not wholesome and they're not effective. But we have Father, Son, Holy Spirit to help us. All right, so now let's transition to what about when you need to say something to someone, and in particular another Christian, because Jesus said we're not here to judge the world. We're not here to. The world doesn't. They're not walking. If they're not walking with God, if they haven't submitted to Christ, they don't know better. Their biggest problem is giving their life to Christ. But for us fellow Christians, we're to try to help each other live right. And when you need to talk to someone who there's a problem, there's some issue, maybe it's an issue that you've observed in their life, maybe it's a problem between the two of you. And oftentimes we don't say anything directly. We'll talk to other people about it. We'll post anonymously on social media, but we won't go to them. And I will admit this is a challenge for me, because it's really uncomfortable to have an uncomfortable conversation with someone. It makes both of you uncomfortable, and that is something that is not easy for me. So one way to approach it, though, is basically some form of this type sentence, and the sentence is, can we talk a minute? I've noticed, fill in the blank, whatever it is you've noticed, if whatever it is, and I worry for you, and I care too much about you not to say anything. And so you do it in a loving, respectful, kind way, and you get the ball rolling, and a lot of times that's the hardest part, is starting it. Now, as far as a life hack in this respect is, before you have that conversation, you need to be praying. You need to be praying during the conversation, and you need to be praying after. And so a couple scriptures that go along with this pretty well. One is Psalm 141 verse 3, which says, "Set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth. Keep watch over the door of my lips." And so that mindset is, God, help me, because I'm going to talk to this person. Help me when I do, because in other words, we need to go into it with the mindset of, I'm going to be kind about this to start, and I'm going to be prepared to not retaliate in the middle. So I would contrast that with, here's the wrong attitude. I'm going to start out showing respect, but so help me, if they even try to, say the wrong thing, or if they even try to blame it on someone else, I'm probably going to lose it.
Right. Or if I got three in the chamber, just waiting to go back at them. If they're trying to come back at me, the praying can be so beneficial. One, it sets you on a spiritual mindset. So you're kind of locked in. I'm getting ready to have a physical conversation. There could be physical consequences with this, just in the physical world, just hurt feelings, whatever, not necessarily getting into a physical fight. Although if you run your mouth, you might have that trouble as well, but you shouldn't. But anyway, nonetheless, here we are. So your mind is kept on the spiritual. So you understand that the spiritual ramifications, but also the spiritual benefits of such a conversation, are at stake here. And so you definitely want to watch what you say, but you need to be prepared for not the greatest response as well. So not only do you say your initial concerns and just speak your concerns, but then be prepared for what follows. You may be met with hostility. You may be met with a broken person that just, I've been trying to hide it and I know it, I shouldn't be doing it. You may meet with somebody who, is very vulnerable, non-combative, but if you are met with that combative spirit or somebody that wants to retaliate, it's just going to make matters worse if you turn around and start getting heated. You need to be prepared, and it's almost one of those hope for the best, expect the worst kind of a thing. But just in your mind, if you're prepared for them to just give you an onslaught of things, well, how dare you come at me with this? You got blah blah blah. I've seen you, and just have something prepared to say. I wanted to do this in love. I'm sorry that this has offended you. I was trying my best just to bring this up. I still care about you. Still going to pray for you. Sorry that you're upset. Hopefully we can, talk, just something along those lines. But be prepared don't be taken aback or be caught off guard when you're met with hostility, and then you end up ruining the situation even farther.
Yeah. So that's Psalm 141:3, set a guard over my mouth. And that's really the mindset going into it is, God, help me to be very cautious with what I say, and kind of stay in that mode, almost like you're in first gear and you're in bumper to bumper traffic. Just stay in that gear. Don't even think about shifting to saying things out of anger. And the other scripture is Psalm 19:14, which says, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight. That's quite different than a lot of times how we function. We don't think about, are my words acceptable to God, or is what's in my heart acceptable to God? Oftentimes we meditate on angry things, angry thoughts, things we'd like to do or like to say, and we go over things that we, in a real earthly immature, spiritually, we can have that mindset. But that scripture is a good one, which kind of slows us down. I'm gonna channel my thoughts and words through God. What would God approve of? And that's what I'm going to say. A couple more quick things. One is a hack in approaching someone in a difficult conversation is be ready to listen. Be ready to listen. So, especially depending on the situation, the other person might have a lot to say, and give them space to say it. It's unfortunate that a lot of times we listen to someone. I didn't coin this, but someone said we listen to respond, and instead we need to listen to understand. And those are two different ways to listen. A lot of times we listen because we're going to argue, but listen to people, give them space, give them, talk slowly and listen a lot. Try to understand. And then one more hack is have the attitude. You need to realize when you approach someone and you have a conversation, you've probably thought about this conversation more than they have if you initiate it. So whatever you're saying to them, oftentimes you're not going to change their mind dramatically in one conversation, usually, no matter how articulate you are. People are resistive to change, and they're very resistive to you accusing them of wrong. And if it smells like that at all, they're going to have their defenses up. So I think it's wise to realize that your greatest benefit will probably come later when they think about what you said. When you're not face to face, and they will roll over. Everyone does. You mull over that conversation. So if you have the attitude or the objective of planting seeds, I'm going to plant my seeds. I don't know how they're going to react, but I'm going to get my seeds on. I'm going to get my words out in a good way, and then pray for God to come and work with that.
I like the idea of, or just bringing up the fact that they're not prepared for this conversation like you are.
Yeah.
So same way can be really destructive in like an argument or a disagreement when you have multiple arguments or disagreements with another person in your head, and you go back and forth. And so when you go to provide a response or to just to say something, you've already not really, but you've had an argument for an hour with this person, and you've let out your built up aggression on somebody that's unsuspecting. Well, here you're not letting out aggression, but you've been really thinking about this and studying it. How should I say this? And so you get it across. They may be completely blindsided by it.
True.
And as most, it's fight or flight, and you feel like, I'm being personally attacked here. Who are you to be an authority and to say how I should? And so we need to just be prepared to let that settle a little bit. Sometimes you just walk away or listen, and then later on, like you say, they might be thinking about it. You go, I really overreacted, or I just got caught off guard. I've been really dealing with this. If you could pray for me, you talk about iron sharpening iron there, and being better for it, because then who are you going to go to when you struggle again? They already held you accountable once. That could be a potential great accountability partner.
Yeah.
Especially when you make through some of those things.
Yeah. So there's so much to be gained if we would let God guide us in our words better, and God can keep us from saying the wrong things, and God can direct us and give us the courage to say the right things and be a blessing to others. So hope this has been good for you, good class this morning. And here in a few minutes, we look forward to worshiping together.